Welcome to The Fall to Grace. This is a podcast where we hope to bring a grounded, practical approach to spirituality and mystic wisdom. Today, my friend Connor and I are going to talk about change and impermanence from a spiritual perspective. So I hope you like it, and let's get started.
Hi, Cyan.
Hi, Connor.
It's nice to be here. Happy holidays.
It's nice to have you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
New Year, new me.
Today, Connor wanted to talk about change.
Mm-hmm.
Take it away.
And impermanence.
Impermanence.
I've been thinking about this a lot lately because it seems like a lot of the people in my life and in my personal relationships seem to be struggling in the change of the season. And I feel like this happens every year around the holidays, and oftentimes it carries into throughout winter for more or less. And a lot of people struggle with, SAD, the seasonal affectiveness disorder and things like
Seasonal
that.
affective disorder, I believe, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I've been thinking, just as I've personally been going through the holidays and all the people around me have been going through the holidays, that there's just been a lot going on. There has been a lot of activity, and just how incongruent that is with the seasonal experience and kind of our biological and physiological experience that we have as kind of animals on the planet. And I was hoping we could talk about change sort of through the perspective of nature a little bit, which is just like the winter is a time to slow down. Winter has traditionally been a time to slow down. We didn't always have electricity and all these lights and things. Like, the days are shorter. There's less time to accomplish everything that we need. And our energy is kind of reflected as the season changes. Our energy goes down. But we try to keep living our lives like we would in the middle of the summer. And we try to keep doing as much as we possibly can as we would in other seasons. And I think this is one of the key reasons why people suffer so much through these seasons, is that they are trying to do a lot in a time we are supposed to not be doing very much.
Yeah, I find the holidays to be very stressful. Before we turned the mics on, we were also talking about how autumn is a good example of like a kind death, like a version of change that's like kind and slow and beautiful, which change often is, but we're very scared of it.
Change can be very slow. And if we are taking our cues from nature, it can be very gentle at the same time. I mean, a lot of the change that we have in our lives happens very quickly. But if we were to take our cues and sort of lean into this energy, like as things either speed up or slow down, we speed up or slow down, I think a lot of this grappling with the changes in our lives and grappling with the things in our lives would be a lot better, right? There's a time and place for certain activities, and there's a time and place and a season for other activities. So change kind of comes in two forms. Change can be very aggressive, like the fires and all of the erratic, quick changes in our lives. Certain job losses, friend losses, death, and things like that can be very quick, or they can be very slow at the same time. We also see slow dissolution of our relationships, and we see slow dissolutions of our jobs and things. And, neither one of those is necessarily pleasant, but we can certainly take our cues from each of them as to how we should respond to these things. We just aren't necessarily listening as these things talk to us. The change is constantly talking to us and inviting us to join it in the dance, but we are so fixed in ourselves and our identities, in our relationships, that we hang on until the last moment. We don't necessarily jump in and swim, which is more what we need to do if we want to minimize our suffering and kind of maximize joy in our daily experience.
Yeah. Change is the best vehicle for spiritual growth there is. I think it's like once you really start to walk the path, you realize that you can transmute it and use it as a platform to jump off of in your practice. It's the best teacher.
Certainly the best teacher. And it's the only constant. Right? I mean,
death and taxes.
Yeah. I think that's at the crux of this, is this conception that change is the only constant.
Yeah.
A lot of our lives are spent trying to hold things in place or invite change in one aspect of our lives while rejecting it in others, or trying to change everything at once. And, if the situation is wrong for any of those sentiments, you're going to suffer in some way, shape, or form. And so much of it is really just clinging. I mean, so much of what we do is cling to everything in our life and just hope it doesn't change. I hope that person stays forever, and I hope that job lasts forever. And we hope that we can wrest security out of our circumstances. But the circumstances, by their very nature, are pretty volatile, and they are constantly changing. So it's far more about how we respond to that, because that is the truth. That is the fundamental truth.
Yeah, totally. And it's just, I think it's all tied into a deep fear of death in the West, which is what change is. Death is change. Change is death. And it scares us, We're also so tied to our identities, these things that we think we are. And so if an identity changes, then what does that make us? We're like a woman untethered. But it's good. How else can you expect to grow without being untethered? It's like that Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche quote where he said, I'll misquote it here probably, but it was something along the lines of, the bad news is you're falling through the sky with no parachute. The good news is there's no ground. It's like my favorite quote.
I love that quote.
Me too.
It's a good quote.
Yes.
I don't know if I've ever heard that before.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we see this so much in just a human life. Like, if we can kind of separate ourselves from our own daily experience and just look at a bigger picture, like, there's so much change in childhood. There's so much change in adolescence. There's so much change in adulthood. And, becoming a senior is, what we necessarily think of as bad change, right? And we try to hold on to our youth at every single one of those stages. If we are kind of following this vision of God or this vision of a higher power's path, like, the higher power is guiding you into this aging process.
Mm-hmm.
And so the goal is to age gracefully. And aging gracefully just means embracing the change as it comes. I mean, there are certainly certain things you can do to, exercise well and eat well and do those things, but you can't stay young forever. We have so many of these trillionaire, billionaire guys who are just trying to live forever and getting stem cell, injections.
Or taking their son's blood. And it's so weird.
Well, yeah, because they covet that youth.
Yeah.
Because we idealize youth and we idealize high energy, but those aren't necessarily what life is about. Life is about moving through this process and paying attention to every single step of it, because every lesson that we have is built in. And the more we listen, the easier the experience is.
Ooh, that's beautiful. I love that. I love that you said it's built in. Because even the most, and I'll put this in air quotes, you can't see me, but even the most boring human life is so rich with change, Even if you were to do nothing but sit at home and watch TV all day for all of your entire life, you would still learn a lot through the natural process of decay in your body. It's really interesting. But it is hard in the West, when we don't use our elders as teachers. And we condemn the process of aging because we condemn death.
Well, yeah. And we were talking about this just culturally right before this of just how the Christian ideology and so much of this is to worship the creator. Mm-hmm. And there's a big obsession in Christian culture with the Father, the creator, and how amazing that is. Whereas, we have these Eastern traditions, whether mostly in the Hindu aspect here, but they worship the destroyer in a lot of ways, and they worship deities like Kali and like Shiva, who have their foundation in destruction, because destruction is just as integral a part of the kind of creation, quote unquote, that we have, is that it's constantly changing and there is constant death. And so that they are more welcoming of the destruction and the dissolution than we are, because we believe that creation is the greatest thing. We don't necessarily see this aspect of the divine that is constantly destroying all the things in our life.
Yeah, the Hindu Trimurti, their kind of version of the Holy Trinity, is creation, preservation, and destruction. Those are like equally important. And I do wonder, like the whole Protestant work ethic and stuff, it's just there's so much focus on what we do, our output, in a very particular way. So it does kind of make sense that they would put this productivity and youth up on a pedestal, I suppose. It's all tied up into capitalism too, in so many ways.
Well, certainly capitalism worships wealth creation and believes that, this is an infinite pool that we can draw from and that we can keep in a continuous growth model. And that's that idea that, like, it can always be innovated, it can always be better, we can always create more, we can always generate more output, productivity from our people and things like that. But we're seeing how much people are suffering in that kind of ideology, which is to keep pushing and keep going despite all things pushing back, despite all signs the earth is dying, and yet we keep going. right? This is the fundamental ideology that kind of underpins our society, is that despite these negative consequences, we keep going. And there's so much invitation there to slow down, to stop, to, appreciate what you have. And yet we have greed and we have gluttony, which propel us forward, which we typically think of as sins, but because it's kind of got this Protestant air to it, we also accept as something that needs to keep going, that we need to keep glorifying man and God by our constant progress. And so we put so much emphasis on progress without understanding that it has limits.
Yeah, totally. Like, screw it. While we're at it, why don't we just push the age of retirement for working class people to 100,
But that's how we keep creating.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we keep pushing these bounds.
Yeah.
No, we don't need a maximum work week. We don't need a minimum wage. Yeah. And that's what we need in order to keep generating revenue. And that has a limit, but we still have so many people who believe it doesn't.
Yeah, totally. And, I love that quote too. Man created God in his image. It's true, and especially if you start thinking about it in that context. Yeah, of course they put the creator up on a pedestal. And of course that creator is a mean-spirited, like workaholic white dude. Capitalist creator.
Certainly. Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to disparage Christianity on the whole as part of this, but certainly as it's in its historical context, kind of as it came, especially to America, and America is this Protestant founded country of all different Protestant kind of ideologies. And it's also this land of opportunity. And it's very much based in this idea of work hard and you will get your just desserts. And what's driven much of the foundation of this country in terms of both institutions and its people is this idea that if you work really hard, you will succeed. And that's what we're doing through this season, right? It's just keep pushing through the winter, and you see all the family you can and see all the friends you can
and shop,
buy gifts. And and do all this stuff. And it's not what's actually happening. We're not taking stock of what nature is telling us. And nature is far more akin to God than your work ethic is.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't mean to disparage mystic Christianity either. I have Jesus on my altar, but I will disparage this version of it all day long because it really impacts us. Do more, be more. It's exhausting.
Well, it just idealizes one form of change, which is progress.
Yes.
And especially monetary progress.
Yes.
And the more you add to your life, the better your life is supposed to be. I mean, it's just so weird how subject to that culture we are, because so much of our experience, or at least mine individually, kind of counteracts that. The more I add to my life, the more stressful my life gets. The more I have to preserve, the more people I have to see, the more things I have to do, the more I suffer because there's too much. But yet I'm constantly have this voice in my head that's like, no, you need to be doing this. This is what a human being is supposed to be doing. And I'm fighting that. I'm like, why does a human being need to be doing this?
Right.
It hurts to constantly expand.
It is funny, like the constant push of progress, because it's the opposite of what we're doing. It's the opposite of our goal, which is stripping back and stripping back and stripping back until we have nothing left, That's what I'm doing. So
talk to me. Tell me that.
I don't want to add more and add more and add more. I want to get to the thing behind the thing, which means that I have to peel back the masks and peel back the bullshit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is the opposite of adding. And that's what capitalism wants us to do, is add and add and add and add and add,
Well, the illusion that more is better. Yeah.
So it's kind of counterculture to start engaging with this stuff, I think, in that regard.
It's counterculture, but it's also just beneficial to you and everybody else, is to really understand the truth of them. There's not a lot I can do about my emotions. And that's what we try to do, is that they're just like a quick fix to make me feel better all the time. But it feels so much better for me to just tell myself that this is a period of contraction and just say, maybe it'll be here tomorrow. Maybe it won't. If it is, then it is. And if it's not, then it's not. Right. And not hold on to how awful these things are and feel like I need to fix them all the time. Because if I'm just moving towards progress, I'm constantly looking to fix. And that's not what this is about. I mean, so much of the change happens outside of my mind. These are things I cannot control whatsoever. And so if I can just abide in the fact that everything's changing, I'm less likely to be destructive, really, in my own life. And just throw it all away, which is a tendency I have. This is all bad. I just want it gone. And I'm just thinking it'll never leave me. And I have to go do something dramatic to get this off of me. Like, no, it's naturally leaving.
Wait, tell me, can you give me like an example of what that would be like?
Like just an intense period of depression or anxiety, which I've had in my life, which is just this impulse that I have, which is just like, I just want this to be gone. I want this to be fixed. I just want to feel better. And that's just my mind wrestling with the nature of things, right? That's my mind telling me that this is horrible, that it needs to be fixed, that there's things that I have to do. And sometimes our feelings can be our guides that way, certainly. But other times they just are moving through me. And the more I keep telling myself that I'm depressed or I'm anxious, and the more I keep identifying with those negative emotions, counterintuitively, those are the things that are sticking. Because I've now claimed them. They are now mine. Whereas if I'm just saying these things are passing through, I mean, I feel this way, right? So much of this is just changing the narrative in your head and not saying I am depressed, is I feel depressed today, right? I'm going to be depressed forever. It's like, I'm depressed right now, right? Just being very careful about the internal monologue that we have.
And then as you progress further, you just watch the depression, Not even I'm depressed today. It's just like, oh, there it is.
And there it goes.
And there it goes. Yeah. Here it comes.
Yeah.
There it goes.
And that's so much more of what we are, right?
Yeah.
We are these vehicles of energy and emotion, and all of these things are just passing through. I mean, when I eat a meal, I'm gaining energy for the day, right? If I stop eating meals, I will have no energy left. And if but all of this is just passing through me. So the more I identify as something like that, as a vehicle, as a vessel, rather than my personality and myself and my ego, the more these things have the freedom to move through me. That does mean I have to also let my joy go, which is one of the harder parts of this, is I do understand in those moments that this won't last forever. But there's profundity in that as well. And it's just more welcoming of the entire human experience. Like, we are not here to have the best experience, the most pleasurable experience. We're here to have a deep experience and to learn from our life. So we got to change our goals. Like, I just want to be happy is more, I want to have a profound experience. I want to experience this change and everything that comes with it, because that's how I've grown. And I've found far more meaning and growth than I ever did in pleasure. Yeah.
And that's what I mean by saying, I want to be nothing. I've said that to a couple of people and they don't understand what I mean, but it's just, I don't want to be my depression and I don't want to be my bliss. I want to be the observer of all of it,
Yeah, talk to me about being the observer.
Well, I want to be like the sky, I want to let it all pass like clouds. And I want to hold on to none of it because it's exhausting to hold on to it. And that's what makes life hell on earth, is when we grasp. And we choke this stuff out, by grasping so hard.
Yeah, and it's just incumbent with disappointment, I think. Like, we are always leaning on the things in our life. And these are like the building blocks of this identity issue, which is just my job. And all of a sudden I've lost that job and I no longer know who I am, or being in big relationships. It's like I'm leaning so desperately on this person, and then we got divorced.
Right.
This thing turned sour. It's just important that we embrace that change, right? I think this is a really powerful idea that you can use for other people as well to minimize your own suffering. Is there's so many people I see in a day or talk to in a day that where my mind is just screaming at me like, that person's an asshole. Then I have a fixed image of that person for the rest of my life, and I never want to see them again. But if I can also embrace this idea of change and just say they're not at my favorite moment in their process of change right now, but maybe that'll be different. Like, I don't have to necessarily grapple with this person being an asshole. I can see them in their process of becoming. And that's extremely liberating because I don't have to suffer as a result of that.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that. I've noticed that with my personal progress, I just don't care as much anymore, I think I just let things roll off my back. You're just like, I don't really want to be around that. Or I see things that I don't like and I'm just like, well, I'm going to avoid that. You know what I mean? Whereas I used to engage with it, but get wound up about it, I guess. I just kind of go the other way. I'm not saying you have to avoid conflict to be a spiritual person. I definitely still have conflict, but I'm just saying, I just don't care, I don't get emotionally wrapped up into it the same way as I did, I think.
Well, yeah, that's because that's the idea of holding it lightly, right? Is when all these things are meaningful and lasting and permanent, then they're things I really have to deal with. But as I change and recognize that change is constant, I go, that's just something that's going to change again. So why would I fight this thing? Why would I grab onto this and go think about how much I hated that for hours on end, right? Like, that's just me holding on. That's grasping. And that's what you're saying. It's just like, I don't want to grasp anything. Because when we do grasp things, that's when we're in peril. And we hold on to it and we keep it in ourselves, right? Where our energy channel, this thing that we're supposed to be the vessel, becomes blocked and identified and starts to hold on to all of these either positive or negative things. And it doesn't matter if you're holding on to positive or negative things, because change is coming. And if you're holding on, it's all going to be swept away anyway. So the only thing you can really do is identify with the idea that this is going to change, that this will pass, this will change, this will be different tomorrow. But this is liberating to the individual, because you don't have to be the same person you were 15 minutes ago. That was like an Alan Watts thing, is that you are change. So keep changing. Be excited one day and pissed off the next. Like, we are here to experience the breadth of the human experience. And when we stop focusing on the pleasurable, joyful experience, we are now open. We've changed our lens from just looking at good things and saying, I want that, I want that, I want that, and bad things and saying, I don't want that, I don't want that, to saying, it's all welcome.
Yeah.
Bring it on. Whatever happens, happens, because it's all coming. And you go a little limp, which is what you're talking about. And being limp is what you want to be, because you're also nimble.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, and you're kind of getting thrown around in the washing machine a little bit. So it's like, it's better to stay loose, so that you're just like, whatever. You're not tensing up every time a change occurs, which is going to occur. And then also, as you progress down the path, and don't ask me exactly how this happens, because I'm just starting to see it, but you can transmute it into personal power. You can transmute chaos into personal power. And you almost are hungry for it, because the more chaos that comes into your life, the more power you get.
Yeah, I mean, changes the energy, right? And so you're harnessing the energy.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're fighting it, it's just not welcome. And so you have no power and no influence. But when you've really opened yourself up to it, it becomes, what does this mean? I mean, it's also the fodder for growth.
Yeah.
Which is just like, okay, what should I be learning here? Not please don't, please don't, please don't. Don't touch this, don't touch this, don't touch this. I really like this. It's like, okay, you're taking this away. Like, what is this creating space for?
Yeah.
And when I can kind of start to view things in my life as with loss there is gain, and with gain there is loss, I go, all right, what's happening, right? And I have a better perspective on what is truly happening in my life. I'm not so emotionally attached to everything that is happening. And with every loss, I'm depressed. And with every gain, I'm elated. It goes, oh, like I can look around and kind of see that this is all part of a bigger picture. And when I see the bigger picture, I mean, that for me is the most liberating thing, which is just like, oh, I never had much say in this anyway. I'm always and have constantly been along for the ride. The only thing that seems to change is how much I'm accepting it or rejecting it.
Yeah.
And when I accept it all, I learn a ton and I grow a ton. And in a spiritual sense, I gain a lot of power.
Yeah.
Which I don't think it's the power you're talking about, but yes.
I guess I'm just talking about Shakti, you know what I mean? Even when it hurts, like, it still changes Shakti, And you can harness it. Like you said, like,
define Shakti.
I guess it's just that kind of life force energy it's in everything. Even the ground we stand on is life force energy.
I mean, it's weak force, it's gravity, it's strong force. It's all of these things that we know hold the atoms together, right? Is part Shakti, and atoms are constantly moving, and atoms are pretty volatile all the time, and there's electrons flying around all the time. Like, when we even look at this from a scientific perspective, we see that things are constantly changing and that things are constantly moving. But we want to hold it all in place.
Wait, but out of curiosity, wouldn't it be like the atoms themselves then that are Shakti, and then the space between the atoms that are more like Shiva?
In a certain sense, maybe. But Shiva and consciousness is the experience of this.
Okay.
It's the awakeness behind the perception of the constant change that is Shakti, which is a little bit what we're talking about. It's just like when I step back and step into my consciousness and I watch what's happening, even to myself emotionally, then everything changes for me personally. But I mean, I think what I'm saying is, like, if we look at the world and we look at the cellular and molecular construction of everything, we see that it's always constantly moving. Atoms are constantly moving. Electrons are constantly moving. And those things are the energy all around us all the time. And those are also the things that are moving through me. And so for me to think that anything is stagnant at any time is ridiculous. That even when I'm sleeping, I'm codifying information and I'm resting my body and my cells are regenerating and then things are dying and my hair is falling out and all this crazy shit, right?
And you're even tossing and turning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so motion is always happening. Energy is always moving. But we have this mental experience of some things stay stagnant and some things are moving. But we have to just scrap that part of our philosophy, which is just that, like, I can keep certain things and I can get what I want and I don't ever have to get anything I don't want. And you just relax into the idea that it's always changing and that it's always moving and all I'm here to do is experience.
And harness. You're like, it's like hydroelectric power, you know, you're like harnessing the river of Shakti, the river of change. It's all around you. You can harness it. And I don't know how it works, so don't ask me, even though I'm making a podcast about it. I haven't gotten that far, but it's like, you can. And I'm seeing it in my own life, slowly but surely, that like I can harness it into power and energy.
You can improve the vehicle, right? You can improve the vessel to be a more powerful vessel. And that's what the spiritual practice is about not necessarily arresting these energies, but becoming a more powerful channel for the energies to move through you. And the cleaner and like more purified you become through mantra, through meditation, through prayer, all of these things, the more your body is able, your consciousness and your kind of individualness, which it doesn't actually exist, becomes able to harness, right? And so that's what a spiritual path is more about. I mean, it starts with understanding that everything is changing all the time. And this was like the fundamental teaching of the Buddha, was that the only constant is change and that impermanence is the only prevalent idea in the world. And that's where you have to start in order to begin on a spiritual journey, because you will also start to change immensely along a spiritual journey. And if you start to reject any of that change or start to seek out other changes in that time, you're going to suffer. And that's what the Buddha talked about all the time. And so we just kind of keep going and we practice a little bit of that discipline that we were talking about last time. And the discipline helps us abide through the change, and it helps the change be more guided in this idea of better, right? Which better is also a weird concept, thinking about these things, but in a more spiritually profound way, right? If I'm leaning more into the idea of having a profound and beautiful, all parts terrifying and wonderful kind of human experience rather than just having a wonderful human experience, then I've started to kind of embody more what God is, right? My spiritual purification and my spiritual practice is to become more like the divine.
Yeah.
And so as I do those things, I start to see the breadth of creation and destruction, not just the good aspects of it. We try to live in summer.
Yeah.
Mentally, we try to live in summer and we don't see winter all around us because we don't want winter.
Yeah.
And so the problem is our aversion and our attraction.
Yeah.
It's Buddha. Again, it's just the mind that fights these things. And that's what creates our suffering.
Yeah.
So I also minimize my suffering as I embrace the change.
It's unfortunate too, because I'm going to disparage modern Christianity some more. I'm sorry, but it's like, I'm just ripping them apart. But anything I don't like is the work of the devil, and anything I do like is the work of God. That's a big part of where that aversion comes from, I think, for a lot of people. But it's like, what is really so scary? What is so scary that it could get ripped away from you and it would ruin your life? Nothing. You know what I mean? Like, I know that I could sleep on a mat, on a dirt floor, and it's fine. So I'm like, I guess I just don't get it.
It's the mind, right?
Yeah.
It's the difference between a sage in a jail cell and a prisoner in a jail cell is the mind, right? I mean, technically all we need is food, water, rest, excretion. Like, objectively, that's all a human being needs. But our consciousness is so high and our intellect is so high that we crave more. And so when you're talking about peeling things back, you're talking about going back to the part of me that would be just fine with the mat on the floor and water and food. And that's profound, but very, very difficult, right? Because the powers of craving, more Buddha, is so powerful that walking it back takes lifetimes, or certainly a lifetime, to become free from my own mind because my mind is constantly looking for good things and avoiding bad things. And so I have to attack the craving and the aversion at their root in order to minimize my suffering. And, there's big steps in that and there's small steps in that. And all of the change is a spiral. It is never linear. It's never like, oh, I've got this now and I'm never going to have a desire again. Every time I have a desire, I'm going to notice it and let it go and all these things. No, it's constantly changing. Even that, right? Like that is just me holding on to an idea anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just have to step back from all of it and keep doing that and keep having the discipline to keep maintaining that perspective and keep doing the things that I need to do to tap into that consciousness that is unchanging. The only unchanging thing is my consciousness. That's the Shiva behind the Shakti.
Yeah, I see that. That makes sense.
Yeah. So I think what I want to tell people here is to give yourself the permission to constantly be changing, to always view your feelings and emotions as things that are changing, to view yourself as something that is changing. Because especially in this aging process, we fight so much against our bodies degrading and our minds degrading. And these are the things that are going to happen. This is the nature of nature. And the more I come to terms with that, the less I have to fight those things going. And the more I can adapt. I don't have to keep skiing and keep hiking and keep backpacking in defiance of nature, right? The irony of trying to be in nature while actively defying it. And just letting those feelings go as well. My feelings change day to day to day. And one thing may mean something to me one day, and it's going to mean an entirely different thing another day. And understanding that change is ultimately pretty good as long as I have my hand on the wheel of myself, as long as I have a hand on my own mind, that these things will move forward rather than backwards. And that change is a spiral. And if it does feel like a step back, it's still a step forward. And to just abide in that. Say, I feel depressed today, not I'm so depressed and I'm never going to escape this. I'll never be happy again. I'll never find love again. And just say, I'm not in love now. I'm not depressed now, or I am depressed now. And let those things liberate from you. Let them pass. Don't hold on to them and make them part of yourself. Same thing with I am in love and I am extremely happy. I'm very happy right now. I'm in love right now. Just let all of these things exist for the moment that they're in, because there is only the present moment and things are constantly changing. So as I abide in that, the more freedom from suffering I experience. Freedom from suffering is not more pleasure and more joy. It's freedom from suffering. Yeah. It's being okay with what is. And that's what we're trying to do here, is understand that change is what is. And that's what I can come to terms with. So this is the foot in the door. All things must pass. It's the foot in the door of a lasting kind of freedom. And freedom is the goal.
Yeah, totally. And I think an aversion to change is a sign of spiritual weakness. So toughen up.
Aversion to change is just one step on the change process as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to be averse. And if you are averse, that's okay.
It is.
But
toughen up a little. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, toughen up by leaning into the truth, which is that it is changing.
Yes.
Give yourself permission to change and the rest will come. It's all coming.
Yes.
All right. That's all we have time for.
That's all we have time for.
Thank you guys for listening. Love you so much. Happy New Year. Take some time to rest. This is the yin season.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks for our next episode. In the meantime, feel free to send us any questions at The Fall to Grace on TikTok or Instagram. And have a great couple weeks, guys.
We love you.
Yep.